If you are looking for information to guide you to starting your own rabbit farming for meat, then you are on the right video. In this video, we will cover the following topics: why the choice for rabbit farming for meat is the right one. Then we are going to cover what you will need to start rabbit farming for meat. I will also share with you best breed for rabbit farming for meat. I will also share with you best feeding patterns. Then we will talk about the breeding cycles, and then finally the most challenging one that all rabbit farmers face: marketing. So let's get into the video. Now let's talk about why your choice to go for rabbit farming for meat is a good choice. Number one, to start a rabbit farming for meat, unlike other livestock, it requires very little or minimal space for a good number of rabbits. If you compare that with goat, cows, chicken, and all of that, it requires large space to start. But with rabbit farming, you just need little space. And rabbit farming is one of the livestock farming that is very easy to start because of this one reason. They have very cheap food. Their food is very common, very easy to source, very easy to find. In some cases, you source their feed or food for free. It is not comparable with other livestock farming like chickens that require large money for their feed alone. In fact, if you invest about 30 to 50,000 naira in rabbit, I can guarantee you that you will spend almost 0 naira feeding them for the first 3 months they're going to give birth. But it's not like that with chicken. Another reason why making the decision to start rabbit farming for meat is the right one is because of the high multiplication rate for rabbit. Its multiplication rate is very amazing, and it doubles your money in a short time. Another reason why making this choice is the right one is because of it has an emerging market. The market is emerging, and I tell you, it is estimated to pass over $1.8 billion in size globally in 2030. So you can see that the market is really growing, and it is the right one if you really want to benefit from this emerging market. Then another reason why making this decision is a good one is because the demand for rabbit meat is increasing because of its health benefits. Yes, you heard that, the health benefits. So now, what do you need to start rabbit farming? So the first obvious thing you will need, of course, is money. That is your budget. So your budget will depend on if you want to start big or if you just want to start with small numbers. So whatever the case may be, it all depends on the size of the farm you want to start with. So you might need between 100,000 naira to over 1 million naira, depending on what size you want to start with. That is between $100 to $1,000 or even more. So I can tell you, if you have 100,000 naira to start with, it's a very good money to start rabbit farming, and you can scale almost within 6 months to a very large number of rabbits, and that means more profit. Then you will need space. Space is relative. It all depends on the size you want to start with. You can also include the space in the budget. But if you already have a space, a backyard, a balcony, or maybe somewhere empty that you have access to, it's a very good step or place to start. So that is very, very relative. The more the space, the larger you can expand quickly and fast. So another thing you will need is your breed. Of course, you need to stock rabbit, you need to stock rabbit. That is the product itself. You need to stock it to be able to start your rabbit for farming. Then that brings me to the fourth point. What breeds do you select if you want to go into rabbit farming? With rabbit, we have local breeds, which is very, very common everywhere, and we have the hybrid. So if you are going for rabbit for meat, local breeds are really very small type of rabbit, not very small, but it takes a long time to grow to full big size that you can easily market, like there can be, if you want to go for meat, you need something that can grow fast, which is hybrid rabbits. Hybrid rabbits can grow within 3 to 4 months to a very big size, enough for you to say, okay, I want to sell this to about 5 kg to 10 kg, but local rabbits takes time to reach that size. So I will advise that if you are going into rabbit farming, if you are selecting your breed, go for hybrid. And in hybrid, we have Chichilla, we have Filmis Giant, and all of that. Even we have New Zealand White that is hybrid. So make sure you have a good information about the breed you are going for. So hybrid is a good one if you really want to go into rabbit farming for meat. If you have any confusion, like I said, you can DM me and I will guide you step by step into what you are going to do to select a good hybrid for your rabbit farming for meat. Now, let's go to the next point. So after you have selected your breed, it is time to stock them into your cages, because you will need a housing, obviously, like in the previous point you raised. Then you put them into the cages. Now you need to look for their food. Rabbits thrive on dry food, not raw food. However, you can feed them vegetables once in a while. So they thrive on dry grasses. You see why in the beginning I said their food is very cheap and affordable? Now I am saying dry grasses they call hay. You can just go into the bush, cut Timothy grass, elephant grass, and all of that, dry them under the shade, and feed your rabbits. It is very healthy, rich in fiber, and fiber is what rabbits need to keep growing healthy. That is the first major food they eat. So then you can give them grains, dry grains. Even if you don't have money for the main grain, you can go for shaft, for grain, soybean shaft, millet shaft, corn shaft, and all of that. You mix them. You can create your mixture yourself, then you start feeding them this food. It is very, very cheap and affordable. Even if you cannot afford those, just keep cutting your grass, clean them up, dry them under the shade, and keep feeding them. I tell you, you can feed them that until you make your first profit. Then you can diversify their food. However, if you have very good money to start, you can go for chicken feed, which is grower, or very high rich prepared dry grain shaft that is very rich, and you can start feeding them that one. So like I said, their food is relatively cheap. It's not written on stone. Even the green grass they can eat spinach once in a while. They can eat tree ducks. Tree ducks is found everywhere during the rainy season. These are foods that are very, very cheap, but do not feed them cooked food, leftovers, and all of that. It could be dangerous to your rabbits. Just give them what I've explained, and you are good to go. And your rabbit will start multiplying. Before you know it, you are counting thousands of rabbits. So, of course, after you prepare the food, it is left for you to now decide, okay, I want to feed this rabbit once in a day. Find a particular time that is convenient for you. You keep feeding them in that cycle every day. Rabbits love routine when it comes to their food. If it is every 12 o'clock every day, they will be expecting that food, and their body system will have adjusted to that, and you see them increasing weight. It is not wrong to feed them more than once a day. If it is convenient for you and you have the budget, the time, you can feed them even 3 times a day. But just know that at least once a day, and it has to be in a cycle and a schedule format. So now let's talk about the next point, which is the breeding cycle. Now that you have prepared your space, your cage, and stock them with rabbits, and you are feeding them, of course, after feeding your rabbits, you will expect them to grow. That is where numbers come in. So it all depends on the numbers you are able to start with. The minimum number to start rabbit farming with is 2 female and 1 male. That is 2 doe and 1 buck. Even if you are going for the hybrid, this is the minimum number. That is not to say that if you have one, it is not good, but the preferred medium number is if you have 10 females and 2 males. The multiplication here is very high. So now let's talk about the breeding cycle. If you already have this information, every rabbit can get pregnant immediately after being breeded by a male rabbit. If they get pregnant, their ovulation starts after mating, so they can get pregnant immediately. And their pregnancy duration is 29 to 31 days. So once they get pregnant, you can expect to breed them again. And an average rabbit can give birth to about 3 kids to 12 kids. Although 12 kids are very rare, but 8, 7, 5, 6, 3 is common. So if you are lucky, you can have those breed that can have large litter. So you have to have that information from your farmer. So however, it can be due to the type of food, rich food you are feeding them, they can have good numbers. Because another thing that affects them when they are pregnant is feeding. If you don't feed them well, they break down the pregnancy into nutrients for their own body growth. So the 31st day, they will litter. And if you have 10 rabbits that are female, and let's say an average of 4 kids per one of them in 6 months, that will be 40. I'm sorry, in 30 days, that will be 40. So that is why if you are stocking your rabbit, it should be minimum of 4 months old. A 4-month-old rabbit can get pregnant, but the male is not the same thing. The maturity for male is 7 months. So make sure you have 2 7-month buck and 10 doe, or as the case may be, whatever your budget is. So if you have 10, that will be times 4. 4 is the average. So if you already have all this, make sure before you start, I am supposed to mention this from the beginning, you have adequate knowledge of rabbit farming. That way, your mortality rate will be very, very minimal. In fact, if you have good information, good preparation, you can raise the exact number of rabbits your rabbit mother gave birth to, you know. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe because I frequently drop rabbit care videos here. In the past, I've also dropped videos about how to know if your rabbit is pregnant, how to care for a pregnant rabbit mother, the type of food you feed your pregnant rabbit, and also after giving birth, the type of food you give them, how to care for them, how to care for the babies, and all of that. You can go through all my videos to find that out. So it is very important to have that knowledge first before you go into rabbit farming, because it is going to impact on the number of rabbits you can raise. So now let's talk about rabbit marketing. Marketing is one of the difficult things people tend not to know how to go about it. But the mistake we do right here is that if you have a good product and you don't talk about it, nobody will know you have a good product. So the first thing you need to do, of course, is to talk about rabbit. Make sure you tell people you have rabbit and tell people that might need it, like restaurants, hotels, marketplaces, and all of that. You know, with the advent of social media, it is even very easy to tell people the type of rabbit you have, and you will see people coming to buy from you. So if you keep quiet and wait for miracle, it will never happen. So you need to speak about rabbit, talk about it, live it, share the information that, oh, I have rabbit everywhere you go, everywhere you find yourself. And this is the same method people that raise livestock adopt. Even the egg producers, broilers, chicken, cow, this is the pattern they adapt. The markets are there, so you just need to tell people that, okay, I have this product, and people will come for it. However, there are other methods you can adopt to sell fast. So I have an ebook that I've written about this. You can check that out also if you want. You can also email me or message me on Facebook at Bani Backyard, then we can talk about it.